The question of whether it is permissible to have a dog in Islam is a subject of considerable debate among scholars and practitioners. This video aims to explore this issue comprehensively by examining the Quranic verses, Hadiths, sayings, and practices of the Prophet Muhammad, and the opinions of various Islamic scholars. The Quranic perspective. The Quran does not explicitly mention dogs in the context of domestic animals or pets. However, there are a few references to dogs that can be interpreted in different ways. One of the most notable references is in Surah Al-Kahf, Quran 18 verse 18 to 22, where the Quran narrates the story of the people of the cave. In this story, a group of young men seek refuge in a cave to escape religious persecution, and they are accompanied by their dog. And you would have thought them awake while they were asleep. And we turned them to the right and to the left, while their dog stretched his forelegs at the entrance. If you had looked at them, you would have turned from them in flight and been filled by them with terror. Quran 18 verse 18. This verse depicts the dog as a companion and protector of the young men, suggesting a positive role for dogs in certain contexts. Hadiths on dogs. The Hadith literature provides more specific guidance on the issue of keeping dogs. There are several Hadiths that address the presence and treatment of dogs, and these Hadiths can be categorized into those that caution against keeping dogs and those that recognize the utility of dogs in certain roles. Hadiths cautioning against keeping dogs. Some Hadiths emphasize the need for caution in keeping dogs, primarily due to concerns about ritual purity. One of the most frequently cited Hadiths in this context is narrated by Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "Whoever keeps a dog, 1 karat of the reward of his good deeds is deducted daily unless the dog is used for guarding a farm or cattle."
Sahih al-Bukhari.
Book 39, Hadith 515. This hadith indicates that the presence of dogs in a household can lead to a reduction in one's spiritual rewards unless the dog serves a specific purpose, such as guarding property or livestock. Another hadith narrated by Abu Huraira states, "The Messenger of Allah, peace be upon, said, if a dog drinks from the utensil of any one of you, it is essential to wash it 7 times.
Sahih Muslim.
Book 2, Hadith 551. This hadith underscores the importance of cleanliness and the potential impurity associated with dogs, necessitating thorough washing if a dog drinks from a person's utensil. Hadiths recognizing the utility of dogs. Despite the cautionary tone of some hadiths, there are others that acknowledge the usefulness of dogs in certain roles. For instance, a hadith narrated by Abu Huraira highlights the use of dogs for hunting. The Prophet said, "If you set off your trained hunting dog, mention the name of Allah, and if it catches something for you and you reach it while it is still alive, slaughter it in the proper manner."
Sahih al-Bukhari.
Book 72, Hadith 676. This hadith permits the use of trained dogs for hunting, provided that the name of Allah is invoked and the animal caught is slaughtered properly. Scholarly opinions. Islamic scholars have interpreted the Quranic verses and hadiths in various ways, leading to a range of opinions on the permissibility of keeping dogs. The Hanafi school of thought. The Hanafi school of thought generally takes a more lenient stance on keeping dogs. Hanafi scholars acknowledge the hadiths that caution against keeping dogs, but also emphasize the utility of dogs in specific roles, such as guarding and hunting. According to Hanafi jurisprudence, it is permissible to keep dogs for legitimate purposes, including as pets, provided that certain conditions related to cleanliness and care are met.
The Maliki school of thought.
The Maliki school of thought also recognizes the utility of dogs, but places greater emphasis on their practical benefits. Maliki scholars argue that the hadiths cautioning against keeping dogs are contextual and should be understood in light of the needs and circumstances of the time. As such, they permit the keeping of dogs for various purposes, including companionship, as long as the dogs are treated well and the requirements of cleanliness are observed.
The Shafi'i and Hanbali
schools of thought. The Shafi'i and Hanbali schools of thought tend to adopt a more cautious approach. These schools emphasize that hadiths that caution against keeping dogs and generally discourage the practice unless the dog serves specific functions, such as guarding or hunting. Both schools stress the importance of maintaining ritual purity and cleanliness, given the potential impurity associated with dogs. Contemporary views. In contemporary Islamic discourse, there is a growing recognition of the evolving roles of dogs in society. Modern scholars and practitioners often consider the changing context and the increased understanding of animal behavior and welfare. Some contemporary scholars advocate for a more nuanced approach that balances traditional teachings with contemporary needs and ethical considerations. Dogs as companions. Many contemporary Muslims view dogs as loyal and loving companions that can provide emotional support and improve mental well-being. This perspective is particularly relevant in the context of therapy dogs and service animals, which play crucial roles in assisting individuals with disabilities and mental health conditions. Recognizing the positive impact of dogs on human health and well-being, some scholars argue for a more compassionate and inclusive approach to keeping dogs. Dogs and cleanliness. Advances in hygiene and veterinary care have also influenced contemporary views on the impurity associated with dogs. While traditional teachings emphasize the need for cleanliness, modern practices can effectively address concerns about impurity. Regular grooming, vaccinations, and proper training can ensure that dogs do not pose significant risks to human health or ritual purity. Balancing tradition and modernity. Balancing traditional Islamic teachings with contemporary realities requires a thoughtful and informed approach. While the Hadiths caution against keeping dogs in certain contexts, they also recognize the practical benefits of dogs in specific roles. By understanding the underlying principles of these teachings, Muslims can make informed decisions about keeping dogs in a manner that aligns with both their faith and contemporary needs. Practical guidelines for Muslims keeping dogs. For Muslims who choose to keep dogs, it is important to follow certain guidelines to ensure that the practice is in line with Islamic teachings. 1. Purpose. Ensure that the dog serves a legitimate purpose, such as companionship, guarding, hunting, or providing assistance as a service animal. 2. Cleanliness. Maintain high standards of cleanliness and hygiene. Regularly groom the dog. Keep living spaces clean and wash any utensils or surfaces that the dog comes into contact with, as per the Hadiths. 3. Treatment. Treat the dog with kindness and compassion. Provide adequate food, water, shelter, and medical care. Avoid any form of cruelty or neglect. 4. Ritual purity. Be mindful of ritual purity, especially during prayers. Ensure that the dog does not disrupt prayer spaces or rituals. 5. Respect for others. Be considerate of others who may have different views on keeping dogs. Respect their preferences and avoid imposing the presence of dogs on those who are uncomfortable with them. Conclusion. The question of whether it is okay to have a dog in Islam is complex and multifaceted. The Quranic verses and Hadiths provide both cautionary and permissive guidance, reflecting the diverse roles that dogs can play in human society. Islamic scholars have interpreted these teachings in various ways, leading to different opinions within the Islamic tradition. In contemporary times, the evolving understanding of animal behavior, hygiene, and the positive impact of dogs on human well-being has prompted a reevaluation of traditional views. By balancing tradition with modernity, Muslims can make informed decisions about keeping dogs that respect both their faith and the practical benefits of canine companionship. Ultimately, the permissibility of keeping dogs in Islam depends on the specific context and purpose, as well as the adherence to Islamic principles of cleanliness, compassion, and respect for others. By following these guidelines, Muslims can navigate this issue in a manner that is both faithful and practical.